the Dawgs Podcast with your hosts, Blake Reneker, Justin Charles, and Josh All.
Hey, what's up, Browns fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Dawgs Podcast. Josh All, your host here. Hope everybody's having a great weekend. If you can see, if you're watching the video here, I'm obviously in my new home studio. We made the move. We have finally moved into the new home, and it is chaos. If you've ever moved before, which I'm sure most of you have probably multiple times, you know how hectic it can be, especially with two young kids. It's just been nuts. So if there's like an echo here, it's because this room is like twice the size of the little closet room I was recording in before at the previous house. So there is an echo. I've got sound panels coming. I've got my studio set, planned out, mapped out. I'm going to be building that here shortly. But right now you get just me and my blank, just grayish background wall, whatever you're looking at here. So that's what's going on here. And I know that the last couple of weeks have been insane, especially for me and doing the podcast and everything. I was really, really sick for like a week and a half or so. And then that overlapped with the move over here, trying to get everything set up. So it's been crazy. But I'm glad to be back with you guys here today. And I'm talking today about the NFL Combine, all the news, the notes, the rumors, and things that have come out from Indianapolis. And there's a lot that pertains to the Browns, so we're going to dive into those things. A couple NFL notes here and there, and then we're going to dive into also at the end of this, those NFLPA report cards. Yes, the report cards that the NFL owners said, nope, we don't want those disclosed anymore. We don't want those made public. Well, guess what? They've been made public. So we're going to talk about how the Browns graded out on their NFLPA report card for the 2025 season. And then we got a couple voicemails to hit at the end. And of course, another message from our favorite villain, Vinty. That's right, he's back. I'll read that message and we'll break it all down. So thank you guys for bearing with me as we transition here into this new studio and everything else. And I will get everything, all the kinks worked out and everything set up. But for now, let's just dive into these Combine news and notes. Okay, so the first, actually really the bulk of what I want to talk about here today comes from Jared Mahler. He does this every season. He's from dogsbynature.com, same outlet as Barry Shucks. So if you guys want to go follow them, check them out. They do a lot of great work over there on that website. Jared Mahler does this every year from the Combine. He really does a good job laying out his findings from the NFL Combine, who he's talking to, what he's heard from around the league people that he's meeting with in Indianapolis, all that kind of stuff. So let's just start here at the top. He says, first of all, the NFL is even lower on this quarterback draft class than the fans and the media are. He says Ty Simpson, the Alabama quarterback, could be a first-round pick, but he had multiple people tell him that if teams are disciplined to their draft boards, Ty Simpson is more likely to be selected mid to late second round. So we'll see how that goes. I think there's a good chance, obviously, that Ty Simpson goes in the first round. I think, we have seen that kind of stuff happen in weak draft class or quarterback draft classes in the past. Kenny Pickett being a very good example for the Steelers back in whatever year that was, 2021, 2, I forget. He goes on his next note, quarterback from Penn State, Drew Allar. He says, we'll probably go higher in the draft than you think. He says Drew Allar is the outlier with size, athleticism, work ethic, and some built-in James Franklin excuses. Currently, Allar is projected as a fourth-round pick at Mock Draft Database. That is a far drop from many believing he would compete to be the first pick in the draft when he decided to return to school ahead of the 2025 season. His injury and struggles on the field are notable, but teams see a quarterback with a lot of upside, moxie, and room to grow. He says, barring poor performances before the 2026 NFL Draft or bad news around the medical front, Jared Mahler would put the floor on Drew Allar at very high, being drafted very high in the third round, with the second round being the most likely spot at this point. So Drew Allar could end up being a high third round, maybe a second round pick, according to what Mahler is seeing and hearing in Indianapolis. So that's interesting. We've talked on this show before, would it be worth a flyer for the Browns to use a fifth round pick or even a fourth round pick on Drew Allar? And it's like, maybe. I'm not big. I'm not really excited to use these mid to late round picks on quarterbacks anymore because it just doesn't work out. It really just doesn't pan out. We just did that last year twice. We used 2 of those picks in 2025 on quarterbacks. One of them actually looks like he could develop into a legitimate NFL starter, which that's being Shedeur Sanders, obviously not Dylan Gabriel. So what are we doing here? Why we have so many needs and holes to fill on this roster. Don't waste a mid-round pick where you could get a good depth piece at a position we really need players. I just don't understand the swing on these mid-round quarterbacks, but I do understand. I get that Drew Allar is enticing as far as the measurables and the intangibles and things like that. So something to keep an eye on. Jared Muller goes on. He says there's going to be a little bit more separation of church and state for the Browns at GM and head coach. He says it was notable how Andrew Berry spoke about, quote, Monk, meaning Todd Monken. It wasn't a big statement or anything, but just a clearer delineation of front office and coaching than we heard from Berry during Kevin Stefanski's time with the team. He says a lot less we and collaboration language and a lot more seemingly defined roles between the two positions. So, we had that mind meld between Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski, and everything was a collaboration. We make all our decisions together, blah, 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 blah. From what I'm hearing and reading from Indianapolis and Todd Monken meeting with people and, media getting a better feel for him as the head coach, he's not going to be the type of guy to just kind of go in front of the media and just say what he's been told to say or just do the coach speak stuff. Like, he's going to be more real. He's going to be more open and honest, and whether that ends up being a good thing or it ends up being a complete disaster, I guess we will just have to wait and see how it plays out, because sometimes that works well, sometimes it doesn't, especially if you're not winning ball games. You can kind of take those things the wrong way. So we'll see how the relationship here between Berry and Todd Monken ends up playing out over the course of the year and all that kind of stuff. So the next note here, this is where things start to get interesting, very interesting. Andrew Berry is obviously, he does this every year all the time, but notably exploring trade options, notably for wide receivers. So this is where the Browns, obviously, we know this, wide receiver, offensive line, humongous deficits at those positions. So Andrew Berry is looking into potentially available wide receivers. Jared Muller notes that while fans are lower on Andrew Berry due to the poor results on the field, which is understandable and absolutely valid, the Browns general manager is highly respected around the league due to his process, including being very straightforward about his discussion, price points, and his desires. He's also considered persistent and resilient in that he will revisit trade ideas from the previous trade deadline just a few months later to see if they can still happen. One of those examples, Jared Muller notes here, about Berry returning to trade talks is with the Saints about wide receiver Chris Olave. Andrew Berry has also discussed trading for Marvin Harrison Jr. from the Arizona Cardinals. So 2 former Buckeye first rounders in trade talks with the Browns. Now, the Marvin Harrison Jr. trade report, or, the fact that the Browns have inquired with the Cardinals about him, that got some smoke. That got some good smoke rolling on social media over the weekend. But I read a tweet from Benjamin Albright, and he said that the Browns have indeed spoken with the Arizona Cardinals about the availability of Marvin Harrison Jr., but the discussions really didn't go anywhere. So it sounds like the Cardinals are a little bit more steadfast in keeping Marvin Harrison, which I totally understand. I would be too. That's why I want him. And the reasons why I want Marvin Harrison Jr. are the same reasons why the Cardinals want Marvin Harrison Jr. But that doesn't mean that this whole thing with MHJ is dead in the water. It just means, first of all, Mueller just reported, I just talked about how persistent Andrew Berry can be. So I would imagine the Browns are going to continue to monitor the situation. They're going to keep communication lines open with the Cardinals about Marvin Harrison, and hopefully something can transpire in a trade for that player right there. All right, now moving on to another position, obviously, and a player that I've talked extensively about on the show. There is at least a 4-team fight to acquire center Tyler Linderbaum. the former center of the Baltimore Ravens. Now, reportedly, the Ravens have offered him a very lucrative deal to stay in Baltimore. I think that he has also expressed a desire to stay in Baltimore. So if you want to know where I stand, my gut feeling is that Tyler Linderbaum will end up re-signing with the Baltimore Ravens. I just feel like that's the most likely outcome. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. That's just how I feel right now. But the other teams, at least the teams that are known to be involved in this, the New York Giants are expected to be heavily involved in Tyler Linderbaum, obviously with John Harbaugh as former head coach, now being the head coach in New York. And the Browns are one of the 4 teams known to be targeting Tyler Linderbaum, obviously with first of all, just with the blatant need. We need offensive linemen. We need a center. He would be the ideal get for this Browns offensive line overhaul, the revamp, and obviously there's the connections with Todd Monken as the OC and Travis Switzer as the run game coordinator. Oh, and obviously George Warhop, the offensive line coach, all from the Baltimore Ravens, now coaching in Cleveland. So I would put the Browns, Giants, Ravens squarely in the mix, obviously, for Tyler Linderbaum. Now, Mahler said he was not able to identify who that 4th team was that is in the mix for Linderbaum, but was told that there are 4 in the race. And I've been reading and looking up things for Linderbaum. I think the Chargers and maybe the Houston Texans could be that 4th team who are in on Tyler Linderbaum, just from some of the reports and rumors that I've been reading. Mueller says that he expects the Browns to acquire an offensive lineman in a trade. Maybe a situation where it's a late round pick for a player who might end up getting cut. Think about KT Leviston last year, right? We traded, what was it, a 7th round pick to who was it, the Rams? I think it was the Rams, right? And we got KT Leviston off of there. I think he was on their practice squad. I can't even remember now. But either way, we traded for him, and he ended up being a depth piece for us who, of course, had to start pretty much the whole season because none of our guys can ever stay healthy. So that's a situation that we're looking into here for the Browns. He said Andrew Berry did mention, and he talked about this, how the Chicago Bears are kind of that the baseline, the standard for how to put a new offensive line together through a multitude of ways. So that is likely to include a trade for an interior offensive lineman, through the draft, and then obviously through developing your own players that are on your roster. And that really will go into effect here, the trade for the interior offensive lineman, if Joel Bitonio does not return to the team, if he decides to retire, or if he just wants to go play somewhere else. But I would think that if Joel Bitonio says, I got another year left in me, that year will most likely be spent in Cleveland. I know the Browns have said they want him to come back. Todd Monken said that he has met with Joel Bitonio and said, I want him on this offensive line this year. It's just not every player is wired the way that Joel Bitonio is wired, the way he prepares, the way he executes, just the type of person he is in the locker room. And obviously Monken would love to have that veteran presence on his new offensive line that's going to have to be completely freaking rebuilt. It would be nice to keep Bitonio another season if we could, but we'll know more. I think that, the new league year when it starts March 12th, he's got a few weeks left to make that decision now. Okay, so moving over into the draft. As of now, this is from Jared Mahler again, the Browns don't see a huge difference if they trade down from pick 6 to pick 10 to around pick 20 or somewhere in that range in this year's draft, meaning the players on their board, the grades they have for those guys, there's not a big difference from the players that are available at 6 to the players who are available at 20. And that's where this draft is different than years past. It's a little more unique, where there are some very good prospects, very good players in this draft. But it's not very clear cut the order to which they're in and where they're projected to go in the draft. So second round picks this year might be way more valuable to have 3 second round picks than it would be to have 1 first round pick. Because a lot of the guys graded, or a lot of the guys who will get drafted in the first round, have a very similar grade to guys getting drafted in the second round. I hope I'm explaining that okay. I hope that makes sense. So moving back in the draft, piling up some additional draft capital, whether it's for this draft or for next year or even the year after. Just getting some extra picks, some extra ammo in the bag just helps out teams who don't have significant differences in their grades between guys early in the first round and the guys in the second round. And so there's all this talk about the Browns trading back and everything, but a lot of that, you got to remember too, that is if they can find a trade partner. And that's always the caveat with these things. If there's no team willing to trade up with you, then you're not trading back. So you have to hope, and this is what Andrew Berry does. He did this to the Jaguars last year. The Browns, Andrew Berry, they hyped the living crap out of Travis Hunter. I mean, generational prospect, once in a lifetime type of player. You can't pass on a guy like Travis Hunter. We got to get him at 2. He was just back working a deal with the Jaguars to try to get as much draft capital out of them to move back 3 spots so that they could come up, take Travis Hunter, and then we get the guy we probably wanted all along anyway, was Mason Graham, to fix up that interior of the D-line. And then we gained an extra second-round pick. We moved up in the 4th round, I think it was, and got an extra first-round pick for this season. So that's the kind of thing I would expect. I know I can kind of already see what they're doing with guys like Caleb Downs. And now Sonny Styles, the linebacker from Ohio State, just absolutely obliterated the NFL Combine. His RAS score, everything was just like 99th percentile or whatever it ended up being. It was insane. And I could see them hyping up some of these players to teams a little bit further back from us who could really use a strong addition to their defense. Get a team to move up, take one of those guys we move back, and still end up getting, maybe it's Spencer Fano or, Caden Proctor or somebody, one of these offensive tackles that we probably like anyway. And we move back, still get the guy we wanted, but add a bunch of draft capital along the way. So I do see, I guess what I'm getting at is don't be surprised if the Browns trade back from 6. And then if they trade back from 6, don't be surprised if they try to do it again. Tony Grossi's already talked about this. We got other people talking about it. The Browns have always, and I know this pisses a lot of people off. I was talking to my dad about this over the weekend. We were moving stuff in, and I said, I don't be surprised. I told him, don't be surprised if they move back from 6. And he said, I hate that. I hate when they trade back. You sucked for reasons because you don't have good players. Stay where you are and just take the best player on the board. Okay, hey, man, I don't disagree. I think that's what the good teams do. But the Browns have so many needs right now that we're not just one elite player away, or potentially elite player, if you even think somebody is, away from being competitive right now. So either way, even when there are elite players on the board like Julio Jones and some of these players, we've done this in the past, we'll trade back. We'll trade back, and we won't take those players. We're definitely going to try to trade back in this draft. You can bet on it. Again, not saying it will happen. You got to have a trade partner. But as long as we have a trade partner, I guarantee we will do it. If the option is available, we will move back.
This episode is partnered with Kalshi. Browns fans, are you ready to put your money where your predictions are? With Kalshi, America's #1 regulated prediction market, you can legally trade on events that actually matter to you. And the best part is you don't need to predict specific stat lines and compile a 7-leg parlay just to win big. With Kalshi, the objective is either yes or no. Will Shedeur Sanders be the Browns' Week 1 starting quarterback? Will Fernando Mendoza be the first overall pick in the draft? Will the Browns make their pick at 6, or will they trade out of that spot? And in other sports, will the Cavs win the NBA Finals? You can put your money on these predictions and more with Kalshi. If you want to try it out, Kalshi is giving $10 to anyone who signs up at kalshi.com/dogs and trades $100. Get away from disadvantageous sports books and dive into real-world outcomes with real-time odds and real payouts. Head over to Kalshi, KALSHI.com/dogs, DAWGS, or just click the link in the description to get $10 when you trade $100 with Kalshi. Because why shouldn't you get paid for being right?
Okay, so moving on here, Mueller says fans and media might be higher on Indiana Hoosiers wide receiver Elijah Surratt than the league, meaning maybe he's not viewed as highly by the NFL as, we in the media, because we really like Elijah Surratt from Indiana. I did hear from several, or not several, but from like another outlet that I was listening to over the weekend at the NFL Combine that Elijah Surratt blew teams away in his interviews. Teams were saying that Surratt's football IQ, his knowledge of assignments, meaning like what every player on the field is supposed to do on a given play, and when they were testing him and talking to him in these interviews, just really gave teams the impression that this guy has a high football IQ, and it was impressive to teams. So maybe, and then Muller's notes here did come out earlier in the week before some of these prospects had their interviews and obviously did their drills on the field. So we'll see how Elijah Surratt moves throughout the process. I do think Omar Cooper Jr. has definitely jumped him. If you remember, it started out Elijah Surratt was projected to go higher in the draft than Omar Cooper Jr. That is completely flip-flopped now, and Omar Cooper's even getting some first-round buzz, which I think is fair and valid, and we've talked about it. I've been mocking him in each of my mock drafts. where he's based on in mock draft database, which is the aggregate of all these industry mock drafts. So that's where the industry and the NFL see him going over time, but it has moved up. It was like I was getting him in the 100s, then I was getting him at 70, and then I had to take him at 39. Now I'm going to have to take him at freaking 24, I think, if I want him, or trade back to like 28, 29, somewhere in there to get Omar Cooper Jr. because he's moving up in the draft, and I think that I think that's valid. I think he's a mover that was underrated to begin with. Okay, so Jared Muller mentioned Chris Olave, Marvin Harrison Jr.'s trade targets that the Browns have knowingly had discussions about. Now, he listed two other receivers whose names were mentioned at the Combine as potentially being available in trades. Not that the Browns have touched base on these players, but that these guys their names have been floated as being maybe available in trade discussions. And the first one is Jordan Addison from the Minnesota Vikings. The second is Quentin Johnston from the Los Angeles Chargers. So there's two more names in the wide receiver pool that could potentially be available in a trade this offseason. Two other names who've been rumored to be available right now along with those guys, Brian Thomas Jr. from the Jaguars and DJ Moore from the Chicago Bears. Now, moving into what I think. Personally, of the wide receivers that the Browns have either had discussions about and the guys available or rumored to be available, here's the order of my trade wish list. Number one option for me, if say we could get any of these guys in a trade, number one for me is Marvin Harrison Jr. I just believe very strongly in his talent level and the skill set. I believe that Marvin Harrison Jr. does have wide receiver one overall in the NFL, not just wide receiver one for a team potential, but I think he could still very possibly be the best wide receiver in the NFL over a stretch here of his career. Remember, he's only been in the league for 2 years, okay? He's played two underwhelming seasons in the NFL. And, a lot of people forget the normal, or at least the historical trajectory of a wide receiver career path. We have been spoiled in recent years by the rookie season breakouts. Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Brian Thomas, Malik Neighbors, Tedero McMillan this past season, Puka Nakua's rookie year. These guys blew up and exploded as rookies. And we forget that historically, what did we always look for? What did teams and media and analysts always watch for with wide receivers? It was always called the third-year breakout. That's what everybody was looking for with wide receivers. Think about Jackson Smith-Njigba. Didn't do much at all as a rookie. He improved in year two, and then this year, year three, exploded, best receiver in the NFL. Devontae Adams was actually a fourth-year breakout. So he went his entire rookie contract looking like a bust. Fourth-year breakout, future Hall of Famer. Nico Collins, third-year breakout. This is just the way things always went in the past. I forget what year it was for like Stephon Diggs to break out. A lot of these guys, the way it has historically been, it takes receivers a little bit of time. And while we expected a guy like Marvin Harrison Jr. to have that immediate breakout as a rookie, just like, Jefferson and Chase and some of these guys, it doesn't always happen for these players. But I'm telling you guys, especially if you're Ohio State fans, like, you know, the talent level for Marvin Harrison Jr. is about as high as it can be for an NFL receiver. So he would be my number one. I still strongly believe in Marvin Harrison and what he can be at the NFL level. Okay, so after Marv, my number 2 trade option on my wish list would be Brian Thomas Jr. I love BTJ's game. He posted the 8th most yards and 8th most touchdowns by a rookie all time in NFL history. So clearly, the kid can play. He had a down second season here. But for me, it's like that opens the door now to acquiring him. And I think the time to pounce is now. Me and Justin, we've talked about this a lot on the podcast here. Brian Thomas's massive rookie season didn't start happening at all until Trevor Lawrence got hurt and Mac Jones came in to play quarterback. That's when all of a sudden BTJ was like a revelation and led all the rookie receivers, Marvin Harrison and Malik Neighbors, all these guys. It was Brian Thomas who had the best rookie season, but it didn't even happen until Mac Jones became the quarterback. For whatever reason, there's just something that doesn't work between Trevor Lawrence and Brian Thomas Jr. But we saw what it can look like with a different quarterback, and it's freaking awesome. So I love Brian Thomas Jr. He would be the number 2 on my list. Marv and BTJ, they are at the top of this list for me because they're both very young at 23 years old, and they both have 2 years remaining on their rookie deals. Plus, they have 5th-year options in their contract. It fits where the Browns currently are in their rebuild. So that's why these two would be at the top of my list. Plus, I just think they have the most talent on this list. But that doesn't dismiss my next guy. Number 3 on the list, Chris Olave. Olave currently on his 5th-year option, which the Saints exercised last May for this upcoming season in 2026. The New Orleans Saints could save $15.5 million on the cap by trading him. And if you know the situation with the cap spaces, the Saints are always in trouble in the cap, with the cap. So it would be beneficial for them to clear up some space, and they could do it because, again, you're going to pay Chris Olave $15.5 million playing on the 5th-year option for your team. You don't want to do that and then just let him roll into free. Like, he's not going to roll into free agency next year. So you're either going to trade him at some point this year, or you're going to extend him. What do I always tell you guys? What happens with the best receivers in the league? They either get extended or traded for. And those are the 2 options here for Chris Olave. So if the Saints are not going to extend him, then they have to trade him to save the cap space this year. And because they're not going to eat this cap space and then just let him walk. That's not going to happen. So he's either getting traded or extended. I know the concussions have clouded kind of the perception of Chris Olave in the NFL, but let's just go through a couple things real quick. On his rookie contract here, this guy has posted 1,042 yards as a rookie, followed it up with a second 1,000 yard, 1,123 yards in his second season. Year 3 was really marred by injuries and concussions and things like that. Had just 400 yards. And then this past season was healthy the whole time, 1,163 yards and 9 touchdowns. Got him a second-team All-Pro nomination. He's never had anything close to consistent or high-level quarterback play in New Orleans. So he's already shown an ability to produce and be an impactful wide receiver despite shaky quarterback play. So I think Chris Olave would be the next best fit for the Browns in their current rebuild. What we're doing with the cap, because obviously if you trade for Chris Olave, you need to then extend him. But we're at a situation in the way Andrew Berry does this, it would be like what we did with Jerry Jeudy. He was on his 5th-year option with the Denver Broncos. We traded for him, immediately extended him, pushed out that money, that cap hit down the road a little bit so that the first season would be low. So Chris Olave, if we trade for him, we would extend him. He'd probably only be a couple $1 million cap hit, something like that, maybe $3 million in the first season. That's just how it's been working out for the Browns. So I see him as the next best option. And then this is my list of 4. So finally, my 4th option in a trade would be DJ Moore from the Chicago Bears. Now, DJ Moore, he's older. He's 28. He's going to turn 29 in April. And yes, I have been down on the idea of trading for 29-year-old A.J. Brown, but that's largely due to his contract, not so much as, the age doesn't really help us that much. He's obviously a great receiver. Same with DJ Moore, but the contract is way better, works way better for the Browns. $28.5 million cap hit in 2026 for DJ Moore, but he could then be cut or traded as soon as next offseason in 2027 to save $24.5 million against the cap. When I'm talking about DJ Moore, if you hear anything about DJ Moore on the trade block, things like that, and you wonder if the Browns could do this, think of the Amari Cooper trade when you think about DJ Moore. An older receiver, still in his prime-ish years, but closer to the back end of his career. The trading team needs to dump the contract. The Chicago Bears need to free up that cap space. The Browns desperately need a number one wide receiver. We could probably get him for a fifth-round pick or something similar to what we did with Amari Cooper. He'll be here for a year or two, and that'll be that. That'll be his extent in Cleveland. But DJ Moore has always been one of my favorite receivers. I love his game, and I think he could be a good veteran leader while we develop the young players, the young receivers on the depth chart behind him. So those would be my top 4 wide receiver trade targets for the Browns: Marvin Harrison Jr., Brian Thomas Jr., Chris Olave, and DJ Moore. So now let's keep the wide receiver talk going over into the NFL Combine, the draft prospects. We have Carnell Tate, obviously, on this podcast, our wide receiver 1, my personal wide receiver 1, of course, in this draft, getting all sorts of discussion online because he ran a 4.54 40-yard dash twice at the Combine. Now, the first thing that we got to talk about with Carnell Tate running the 40, putting up a 4.54, every single draft analyst said Carnell Tate will likely run in the 4.5s. So it's funny now how many people out there seem to be shocked that he ran in the 4.5s. We knew this was going to be the case. We knew that Carnell Tate had 4.5 track speed. Okay, that's fine. But now that he actually went out there and ran 4.5 track speed, people are like, whoa, maybe he's not the wide receiver 1 in this class. I hate the 40 time, and we'll talk about that here in a few minutes. But the second thing with Carnell Tate that I really want to talk about here, and this speaks to everybody in the Discord. So I want to thank you guys in the Discord, the conversations that we have in there. And if you're interested in becoming part of the Dog Pack community, joining our Discord, hanging out with us, getting in these conversations, go to jointhedogs.com. Hey, I mean, seriously, get in the conversations with everybody in there, the diehard Browns fans. I mean, you get access to the Discord. Like I said, we're going to do Dog Pack Discord live episodes, which I think these guys don't know it yet. I think we're doing one tomorrow night, Monday night at 8 o'clock for the Discord. And then fantasy football every year. You get to be in those leagues and all that kind of stuff. So jointhedogs.com. But this next part came from a discussion in the Discord last night. And I apologize to you guys. I'm really sorry. I forget who specifically posted this in there. But newer Browns fans might not remember Josh Gordon. But the longtime Browns fans will definitely remember him. And if you didn't get to watch Josh Gordon, go to YouTube right now. I'm just go to YouTube. If you're already on YouTube, new tab, search Josh Gordon 2013 highlights. Okay, Josh Gordon 2013 highlights. And you go watch and you see how many quick slants did Josh Gordon take to the house? How many DBs did he just leave in the dust, burn, blow by them? Do you know what Josh Gordon's 40 time was? Take a guess. If you watched Josh Gordon play football, you couldn't catch him. He's so fast, big, strong, and the speed was insane. He was an absolute specimen of a wide receiver. Josh Gordon, and again, thank you everyone in the Discord last night for bringing this up and having the discussion about this. Josh Gordon ran a 4.52 during his pre-draft workouts. Okay, at 4.52, Carnell Tate just ran a 4.54. So essentially, just a couple hairs difference between the two. Now let's look at a different receiver, and this is where I'm going to start going on my soapbox here about the freaking 40 times and this drill at the Combine. Anthony Schwartz, if you guys remember Mr. Anthony Schwartz, 2021 third-round pick by Andrew Berry and the Browns, he ran a 4.26. Whew, blazing fast. Olympic speed. When you watch the highlights for Josh Gordon, there's no way you would think that he's not running or playing at least at a 4.3 speed with how fast he is on the field. Now, I'm not saying that Carnell Tate is Josh Gordon, but let's look at this list, okay? We were talking about this in the Discord too last night. People wanted to know, what's the list of wide receivers in the NFL, like the top elite wide receiver 1 guys who ran 40s in the 4.5 range? Listen to this list. All these guys ran a 4.5 40 or slower. A couple of these guys were even in the 4.6 range. CeeDee Lamb, Amon-Ra St. Brown, T. Higgins, Keenan Allen, Cooper Kupp, Devontae Adams, DeAndre Hopkins, Mike Evans, Antonio Brown, Brandon Ayuk, Stephon Diggs, Jerry Rice. All these guys ran in the 4.5s, and a couple of them, was it Mike Evans, Keenan Allen, maybe Cooper Kupp, all ran in the 4.6s. Okay? 40 times don't mean anything. They really don't. I feel like we have this conversation every year, and here we go, we're going to do it again. I wish they didn't run the 40 at the I wish the 40 time wasn't even a part of the evaluation. Receivers who ran track in high school have an advantage. It doesn't have to just be receivers. Running backs or quarterback. If you ran track in high school, you have an advantage because this is a freaking track event. It's not a football event. Think about the 40-yard dash at the combine. You're getting on a track in shorts and running a straight line as fast as you can. 40 yards. When do players ever do that in the NFL? First of all, and I know I'm recording this episode Sunday morning, so we don't have the measurables and the combine performance for the offensive line. Those guys are all going today. But a 40-yard dash for an offensive lineman? Who cares? Who cares what a 40-yard dash? When is an offensive lineman ever going to run as fast as they can in a straight line for 40 yards in a football game? That's not what they do. And I know, the 9 routes for the receivers. It's still not what they do. You still have to have a release package off the line. You're going to get pressed or get hands on you by a DB at some point during that route. You're not just going to run a straight vertical seam, down the sideline as fast as you can and have nothing else happen to you. First of all, you're running on grass, not track. You got football pads on, not shorts. The 40 is the dumbest evaluation. But anyway, let me just kind of get back to my notes here because I could talk about that forever. But again, it's a straight line run on a track in shorts. It's a drill, like I just said, no player ever does in the NFL, never in a game. The 40-yard dash is how guys like Matthew Golden get drafted in the first round. And if you go back even further, years back, remember John Ross for the Cincinnati Bengals? Yeah, it's how the Browns get excited to draft a guy like Anthony Schwartz over Amon-Ra St. Brown. Yes, Anthony Schwartz ran a 4.26 40, Olympic level speed. The problem with that is this is football, not the Olympics. The dude couldn't run a route. He can't get open, and he can't catch a ball to save his life. That 4.26 didn't do anything for the Browns. Nothing. But yet, it got him drafted. That's why I hate the 40. Amon-Ra St. Brown ran a 4.51. But guess what he can do? Run routes, get open, catch the freaking ball. I don't like the 40. So 40 times, to me, they don't change draft order for me with wide receivers. I see people like, oh, Chris Brazzell ran a 4.37, so he's moving up the draft. I don't care about the 40. I already knew he was fast. Doesn't matter. Does not matter. It's all about the tape. What do you see on the film for these receivers? And what are their deeper on-field metrics? They're on-field. What do they do on a football field in a game? Those metrics, not what they're doing on a freaking track in shorts. The one guy here from the combine that I feel like is worth mentioning, just because, again, every year, we do this 40 thing. People want to know, well, who ran the fastest 40 for the wide receivers? Okay. Well, that was Brennan Thompson, wide receiver from Mississippi State, ran a 4.26. But why is he worth mentioning when I just said all this stuff about the 40 times and all that? Him running a 4.26 for me personally did not change where I had him. He was already, for me, a top 100 player in the NFL draft. Now, the 4.26 has put him in the headlines, so a lot of people that didn't know about him, now they know about him. So he might not be a guy that's on the Browns border for you as a Browns fan. You might say, nope, hard pass. He's 5'9", 170. Soaking wet, I'm pretty sure. He's a smaller receiver. He had 57 receptions, 1,054 yards, 6 touchdowns for Mississippi State last year. He posted a 2.77 yards per route run, and he did that running 87% of his routes on the outside. So he's not like, they didn't put him in the slot and say, go do a slot thing, you smaller receiver. 5'9" in the SEC on the outside against these SEC cornerbacks, a 2.77 yards per route run, 1,000 yards, 6 touchdowns. Now, again, he might not be a guy who's in the cards for the Browns, but he's still a name to keep tabs on because he's going to get drafted, 3rd round or higher, and he's going to have a role somewhere in the NFL. And the last guy, the last wide receiver whose 40 time popped him onto my timeline, who I didn't even know about this receiver, is Jeff Caldwell, the wide receiver from Cincinnati. 6'5", 215 pounds, so he's a big-bodied guy. He ran a 4.31. That's what got him all the hype and everything from the combine. And for me, this is where we got to watch out this territory where a guy like Matthew Golden, who didn't do jack diddly squat for Texas in college, all of a sudden gets thrust into the first round because of his 40 time. Because the Packers got enamored with the speed, and then you saw what he did, or I should say didn't do as a rookie. He didn't do anything. He didn't do anything, which I knew he wouldn't do anything. So a guy here, Jeff Caldwell, similar situation. I mean, he ran the fast 40, but go look at him. He played 3 years in the FCS for Lindenwood, and then this past year transferred to Cincinnati in Division I, posted just 32 catches, 478 yards, 6 touchdowns. He had just 3.7 yards after catch per reception, 2.16 yards per route run, which, yes, that's over 2. But you guys know I like 2.25 is probably the lowest that for these guys in college. If you're below that, I'm just not that interested. And the other thing with Caldwell here, just 5 out of 13 contested catch opportunities this year, just a 38.5 contested catch rate. So, Jeff Caldwell ran a fast 40. Good for you. If you're not piling up receptions, which he didn't, you're not coming down with a lot of 50-50 balls at 6'5", which he didn't, and you're not generating a ton of yards after the catch, which he didn't, I'm really not that interested all of a sudden just because you ran a 4.31 on a track. So, Jeff Caldwell, you're going to see that name, especially just because of the size and the speed and all that stuff. But these deeper metrics, I'm telling you guys, that's a red flag for me. Not interested in that wide receiver from Cincinnati.
This episode is sponsored by ButcherBox. Browns fans, with all the free agency and draft talk, you know that spring is right around the corner, and there's no better feeling than stepping into that sunshine, ripping off that old cover, and firing up the grill. And ButcherBox has the perfect deal for you to get the best meat onto that grill this spring. Head to butcherbox.com/dogs, DAWGS, right now, and new users will get their choice between free chicken breasts for a year or ground beef in every box for the lifetime of their subscription. And if you're just placing a one-time order, make sure you guys use promo code DAWGS, DAWGS at checkout to get our podcast discount. With ButcherBox, you get to choose your box and how often it's delivered. With the custom classic box, for example, you get exactly what you and your family need for the warmer weather. Choose from over 80 different products, including meat and seafood. Plus, you can manage your entire subscription online and change your box type, product selections, frequency, or delivery date anytime. Shipping is always free. Deliveries come straight to your door on your schedule, and you can cancel anytime. So what are you guys waiting for? Head over to butcherbox.com/dogs right now. New users, you guys are going to get your choice between free chicken breast for a year or ground beef in every box for the lifetime of your subscription. And again, if you're just placing a one-time order, use promo code DAWGS at checkout for our podcast discount. That's butcherbox.com/dogs.
So speaking about these wide receivers, in the draft, some of the stuff we've done in the past here with Andrew Berry, I'm still very concerned with Andrew Berry's ability to identify and draft wide receivers. Over 6 seasons now, he is drafted in 2020, Donovan Peoples-Jones, 6th round, out of the league. 2021, Anthony Schwartz, 3rd round, out of the league. 2022, David Bell, 3rd round, out of the league. 2022, Mike Woods, 6th round, out of the league. 2023, Cedric Tillman, 3rd round, still on the team. Last year of his rookie deal. We'll see if anybody signs him next year in free agency. 2024, Jamari Thrash, 5th round, out of the league. Or what is he, practice squad or exclusive rights? I don't even remember what he is. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because they all sucked. They all sucked. So not a single one of these receivers is still in the NFL, except for Cedric Tillman. Like I said, he's on the final year of his rookie deal. Not one receiver that Andrew Berry has drafted has ever been signed in free agency by another team. We traded Donovan Peoples-Jones to the Lions during the 2023 season, but once he became a free agent after that season, never played football again. Now, obviously, I get it, guys. The lack of high draft capital plays a part in not taking top prospect talent at wide receiver. I understand that. But remember, we had pick 42 a couple years ago, and Andrew Berry traded that in the 42nd pick, second round, traded it for Elijah Moore. Elijah Moore, another receiver who left Cleveland and then did nothing in the NFL after that. So it concerns me about how he evaluates and identifies wide receivers because he's not done it with anybody yet. The Browns have officially met at the combine with the top wide receivers, Carnell Tate, Mekhi Lemon, Jordan Tyson, also Denzel Boston. I expect all 4 of those guys, plus some others, will be top 30 visits for the Browns when those start up. Now, we also met with the top-ranked offensive tackles, all of those guys, Francis Mauigoa, Spencer Fano, Caleb Lomu, Monroe Freeling, and Caden Proctor, and also Blake Miller. I firmly expect one of those names to be called by Cleveland on night 1 in April. I think that the Browns taking an offensive tackle in the first round, whether it's early, we trade back and we take one in the mid, or we wait and take one at 24 or trade back from 24 a little bit and take one. Either way, we are taking one of these guys in the first round. I would bet on that for sure. Now, finally, let's kick over here some quarterback news and rumors. Now, every source that I've been reading and listening to seems convinced that the Browns are going to be adding at least a player or a couple players to that quarterback room. Several sources that I've read believe that Deshaun Watson will actually open the season as the QB1 for the Browns. Now, I don't think that's very likely, but at this point in time, you really can't rule it out. I mean, he is on the team, he's on the roster, and he'll be healthy enough to compete. Rumors are that the Browns, Dolphins, Cardinals are among the top teams expected to be chasing after Malik Willis in free agency. And you guys know that I think it's a bad idea to go after Malik Willis. The dude has 6 career starts. I've said this so many times, 6 starts in 4 seasons. He has started fewer games. He has fewer pass attempts in his career than Shedeur Sanders had last year. So he's projected to go anywhere from 20 to 25 million. Some think that when the competition heats up for his services, it could push past $30 million contract. Like, if you sign Malik Willis for that kind of money, he is your starter. You don't bring that guy in here to compete for the job. That's your starter. I just don't see the point. I don't see how it makes sense to pay that kind of money for such limited experience. I really don't. But we'll see how it goes. Zach Jackson from The Athletic, he said he believes the Browns' plan at quarterback is to sign Malik Willis. And then if that doesn't work, the backup plan or the next plan is to trade for Anthony Richardson from the Colts. Again, both of these just seem like bad ideas to me. Now, I get it. I can see the upside with Anthony Richardson on why somebody would want them to do that. But I watched him play football too, so I really don't want Anthony Richardson. And the guy's never healthy. He's hurt all the time. He can't throw the ball. Like, he's inaccurate as inaccurate can be. He's big, he's athletic, but again, that doesn't help you if he's on the sideline with a bum ankle or something. Like, a hard pass for me on Anthony Richardson and Malik Willis. Mary Kay Cabot reporting all week that Alabama quarterback Ty Simpson is firmly on the Browns' radar in the draft, and I expect that the Browns will have Ty Simpson in for a top 30 visit. I think that there will be interest there. I know that there's a relationship between Ty Simpson's family, his dad, I think, coached at Southern Miss. I don't know if it was like, if he was just kind of there in relation to Todd Monken or if he was actually on Todd Monken's staff, but either way, they know each other. There's a relationship there. So there is connection to the Browns and Ty Simpson. Penn State quarterback, already talked about him a little bit, Drew Allar. He said he would love to be drafted by the Browns. It's his hometown team, favorite team growing up. Claims that he went to every Browns home game for several years straight when he was growing up, all that kind of stuff. From what I read, from what I saw from the combine, Drew Allar displayed his arm strength, and he probably does have the best arm talent in this draft class. He had good accuracy on those throwing drills. And there's no doubt that Drew Allar has moxie, he has confidence, and again, that has reportedly been something that has caught the attention of some of these NFL teams who have spoken with him, and why Jared Muller thinks that mid-third round, late second round, probably where Drew Allar is going to end up going, despite the injury and the poor play in 2025. Now, Miami quarterback Carson Beck, he also said he'd love to play for Cleveland because he wants to be reunited with Todd Monken, who was his OC at Georgia. So I could see the Browns using some resources, spending some time, top 30 visit, pro days, things like that on Carson Beck, on Drew Allar, on Ty Simpson. And the last guy that don't be surprised if you see the Browns in the mix, at least having conversations with, maybe meeting with this guy, maybe going to a pro day or something. It's Cole Payton, the quarterback from North Dakota State. Now, maybe they won't, okay? Maybe the Browns don't have him on their board. Maybe the small school FCS level competition, all that's going to take him off the board. But Cole Payton at the Combine just posted a 9.97 RAS score, which is the fourth best out of 1,054 quarterbacks since 1987. And the reason that 9.97 RAS score is worth looking into as a prospect for Cole Payton is because his passing data in 2025 actually supports it. It was very, very good. 72% completion, 2,700 yards, 16 touchdowns, just 4 interceptions, a 193.4 passer rating. Plus, he added 777 rushing yards and 13 touchdowns on the ground. He's a legit dual threat. Elite athleticism, not to mention he's got the prototypical NFL size, 6'3", 232 pounds, will have NFL teams very curious about Cole Payton. Now, I know I said it, but again, FCS, lower level competition, all that stuff. Trey Lance's school, I get all that stuff, but we're not talking about taking this guy with the 3rd overall pick in the draft. We're talking maybe a 2nd or 3rd round pick on a guy like Cole Payton. So we'll see where he ends up in the projections as the draft season rolls on. But it's a name that we're going to have to keep ourselves familiar with as Browns fans. At least that's what I believe. A couple other things from around the league. Rumors. The Dolphins are going to cut Tua Tagovailoa because no team is interested in trading for his contract. Kyler Murray with the Cardinals reportedly asked the team to release him. And the Vikings are looking to move on from J.J. McCarthy. They plan to bring back Carson Wentz at minimum this season, but they are looking to upgrade their quarterback position. And Derek Carr has said that he would consider coming out of retirement to play for a contending team. The New Orleans Saints still own the rights to his contract. So if a team wants him, they're going to have to trade for him from the Saints. But obviously the Saints are moving forward with Tyler Shuck, so they would have motivation to move him if a team did come calling saying they would like to acquire Derek Carr. We'll see. We will see what happens and how all that stuff plays out here over the offseason when the new league year starts here in a couple weeks. All right, cool, guys. So let's talk about these report cards and the grades for the Browns before we do a couple voicemails and a message or two here. Again, NFL owners did not want these report cards and the grades made public. ESPN did obtain the results of all these annual NFLPA report cards, and here's how things graded out for your Cleveland Browns. 1, treatment of families, D-. Home game field, B-. Food/dining area, D+. Nutritionist/dietitian, C+. Locker room, meaning locker room facility, F. Training room, C. Training staff, C+. Weight room, B+. Strength coaches, B+. Position coaches, B-. Offensive coordinator Tommy Rees, D+. Defensive coordinator Jim Schwartz, A-. Special teams coordinator, Bubba Ventrone, D. Team travel, got a D-. Your head coach, Kevin Stefanski, got a C-. General manager, Andrew Berry, C. And team ownership, C. So there's your team grades for these NFLPA report cards for 2025. And the ones that I really want to highlight here have to do with your coordinators. It's funny. Tommy Rees, the golden boy, the up-and-coming offensive genius that everybody wanted to, this guy's going to be an NFL head coach or a college head coach. He didn't get any interview requests for head coach. And you saw, we had 10 openings at head coach this year. And the only team that interviewed Tommy Rees in any capacity was the Cleveland Browns, just because he happened to be our OC. Got a D+ grade on the NFLPA report card for the team. So maybe Tommy Rees, not quite the offensive mind or whatever that everybody thought he was going to be. Not saying he can't end up being that, but it just doesn't seem like he is that right now. So that coupled with your head coach grade, C-. Here you go, Atlanta Falcons fans. Kevin Stefanski, C-. Okay, where does that rank amongst all the head coaches in the NFL? 32nd. That's right. Kevin Stefanski was the lowest graded head coach in the NFL from the 2025 season. So there you go. The Falcons got our C- head coach and our D+ offensive coordinator. We let our A+ defensive coordinator quit the team, which sucks because he was the only category that even got into the A range was defensive coordinator. And then, of course, special teams coordinator, Bubba Ventrone, a D. The team has spoken. The players have spoken. They were not happy with the coaching staff, which is why I was ready to move on from everybody, even Jim Schwartz. Just we needed to do a full house cleaning. Again, in my opinion, that should have been the front office as well. Andrew Berry with your C grade here and everything, and he's just put a absolutely piss poor product on the field over 6 years. I'm done with him too. We'll see if he can correct things and fix things coming into this season, but the time is ticking. At least the coaching staff is gone. We got new guys in here. Todd Monken, as the offensive coordinator grade for the Ravens, got a B-, which is an upgrade, at least in terms of the way players viewed these coaches. So that's good to see. But that's really all I want to talk about with these grades. I just wanted to mention it, talk about it, and then if there's anything on here that you guys see that you want to talk about, drop in the comments. Let me read it. Maybe we'll talk about it here tomorrow night on the Discord show with the other guys. So, Combine news and notes. That's what I got for you guys so far here today. We got the grades. Now let's move over into a couple voicemails and, of course, our message from Venti.
This episode is sponsored by Better Sleep. Browns fans, I don't know about you guys, but the older I get, it seems like the more difficulty I have sometimes falling asleep. And it drives me absolutely bonkers because I'm tired all day, like 3 o'clock, 3:30 in the afternoon. I'm yawning. I'm barely keeping my eyes open. I sit on the couch at 8, 9 o'clock at night watching TV. I'm about ready to fall asleep. As soon as my head hits the pillow in bed, finally, boom, wide awake, can't fall asleep. So that's where Better Sleep could help you out. Better Sleep is one of the world's top-rated sleep apps that can help you fall asleep faster and wake up energized. There are over 300 sounds for you to customize and fall asleep to, including white noise, green noise, pink noise, ASMR, binaural beats, nature noises. There are hundreds of bedtime stories for adults featuring celebrities. Each story has been carefully selected to help you nod off. Personally, I'm more of just a white noise type of guy, but I tell you what, I do want to try out these bedtime stories. I know my wife has tried listening to the stories and some things like that to help her fall asleep, and it has been effective. So use our link to try 7 days for free at trybettersleep.co/dogs, DAWGS. Quit worrying about whether or not you're going to be able to fall asleep tonight. Let Better Sleep help you fall asleep faster. Again, take advantage of the 7-day free trial at trybettersleep.co/dogs.
All right, let's just give you guys what you want. Here's the message from Venti. And again, I haven't read this. I do this every time. I never read his messages before I dive into it on the show. So here we go. First time. He says, "Man, you must have been deathly sick. I was getting really concerned for you when you agreed with like 90% of my last message." He He says, I thought you desperately needed to get yourself to the hospital, but your State of the Roster show made it clear you were doing much better. Well, State of the Roster came out before I was really sick, Venti, if I recall correctly. But anyway, he says, I don't know what you are so upset about. Other than Bush, Hickman, and Emerson, who are you so upset about possibly losing in free agency? I wasn't upset about losing guys in free agency. I was upset that we're losing 32 contracts and we have nothing to replace them with. That's what I'm upset about, is the fact that Andrew Berry has built no depth, no up-and-coming players to, no heir apparents to roll into these positions as these guys hit free agency. That's the problem that I have with the 32 expiring contracts. He says the overwhelming majority of our free agents are players we don't really want or need back. Again, I'm not disagreeing. That's part of the problem. Let's see. He said, we all knew the offense was extremely lacking in talent, but other than Bitonio, what free agent would be hard to improve on? You seem to want them to bring guys back just to be warm bodies and take up roster spots. I don't remember saying that I wanted them to bring anybody back other than Bush, Hickman. Personally, I'd still like to have Wyatt Teller on the team, but they obviously feel differently about Wyatt Teller than I do. What other players did I say I want them to bring back just to bring back? I'm saying I am mad and upset that Andrew Berry has built nothing behind these expiring contracts. He says the way I look at free agency is who would I still be happy about if they come back and don't play as well as they did last year, not including Njoku because we knew he was gone already. There are only two players that I am desperate for them to bring back and wouldn't care if they overpaid for. That's Bush and Bitonio. Okay, I would like to see Hickman, Emerson, and Harris come back, but I don't see them on the same level as Bush and Bitonio. And he says, I'm glad you're starting to feel better. Hard cut because I just had a coughing fit, but I am starting to feel better. I at least have my energy back and I can do some things and get up and move about, which is wonderful. So I do appreciate that, Venti. Again, sometimes I feel like he wants to bicker in here just to bicker. I feel like we're agreeing on this entire message. The point of view may be the differentiator here where I'm saying it's not that I want all 32 of these expiring contracts to be re-signed just because I want a full team. It's the fact that we let the situation happen or planned for it, like Blake said. We planned to have all these expiring contracts, but we have nothing waiting in the wings. And so it makes for a very vulnerable situation for the team because now you're at the mercy of free agents who have options just because you want, and I'm talking about the Browns, just because you want to sign, this player or that player or add these position guys, whatever, doesn't mean it's going to happen. They could easily say, I'm going to sign with this other team. And now you're going to your second, your third, your fourth option in some of these spots. And that's where a bad team gets worse. And then you're relying on a bunch of young rookies that you're going to draft and UDFAs that you're going to sign after the draft. And you're hoping that you can replicate your success rate from last draft season where you hit on quite a few guys. But Andrew Berry's track record doesn't say we should expect that. So that's where my concern is for the state of the roster. So thanks, Venti. Appreciate your message. Again, I feel like we agree more than maybe either of us even realize. So that's good too. All right, got another message here from the website. Again, if you guys want to leave voicemails or messages, go to thedawgspodcast.com. You can record a message, a voicemail. You can listen to it back. Make sure you like it. Re-record it if you don't, whatever. Send it in. I'll play it on the show, respond to it. Or there's a box right there where you can just type in your message, hit send, comes right to the email here, and I can read on the show. This one is from Kevin. And Kevin says, what do you guys think about Dallas Goedert from Philly as a free agent signing for our tight end group? And I got to tell you, I thought about Dallas Goedert when I was doing the free agent preview episode with Kenny Mack. And I was actually doing some free agent previewing earlier, maybe a month ago or so. And that's where I really honed in on Cade Otton as that's my target at tight end for this team. Dallas Goedert, I considered him and I thought that would be good too. One, I really do expect the Eagles to bring him back. I think that he's very pivotal to what they do on offense, that they need him. And they don't really have that next guy in the waiting to step up and be a good replacement tight end for Dallas Goedert. So I think he's just kind of a lock to go back to Philly anyway. He's projected to get a higher salary, eat up more cap space than a guy like Cade Otton, which I don't think works for the Browns. And he's injured a lot. For me, for Cleveland, to fork out the kind of money and cap space you would have to get for Dallas Goedert, and then for him to potentially end up injured, because it just, they say you shouldn't like project injury, but when a guy has such an extensive injury history where he's hurt every year at some point, Jack Conklin, DeJuan Jones being some good examples for us, you kind of have to build in that expectation, unfortunately. And for Dallas Goedert, that is the expectation. So I like him. I think he's a great player, hell of a player, but just not a good fit for where the Browns currently are and what we're currently trying to do with the roster. So thank you, Kevin, for that question. All right, last message here from the website is from Logan. Says, hey guys, Logan from Surrey, British Columbia, Canada. Got a short question. I would like to know your thoughts on us trading for Kayvon Thibodeau. I know he's not exactly a scheme fit, but I saw his price as a day 2 or 3 pick, so that makes me interested in the amount of picks that we have. Okay, Kayvon Thibodeau from the New York Giants. Now, this is where it would behoove me to read your messages before I actually do them live on the show. If you can get him for a late day 2 or like a day 3 pick, so like a late third, I don't even know if I would do a third with the way our current roster is. Like, I'd rather just use the third round picks on, well, I guess we have a third round pick on a draft player. But if, like a fourth, or even, definitely if you can get him for a 5th round pick, I would do it. I don't even know what his contract situation is or anything like that, so I do apologize for not having more information on Thibodeau. But I'm not one to just turn away talent just blindly. Like, again, if you can get him for a 4th or 5th round pick, okay. I don't know what the situation is, if we would just need to extend him or if it'd be like a 1-year rental type thing. But I don't know. I'd have to look up a little bit more about Thibodeau. I apologize, Logan, that I don't have more to add to that. But a name that's definitely worth mentioning and discussing, and maybe I'll look up a little bit more and we can talk about it with Blake and Justin tomorrow. All right, so let's move into some voicemails here real quick before we wrap up. This one is from Kurt.
Hey guys, Kurt from Jersey. Just a little something on the player that currently wears Phil Dawson's number. Is there a way we can restructure him and then trade him? I know, like, I mentioned it on the Discord, and I'm not smart enough to understand contracts and stuff. I don't know how much we owe him still. So is there a way we can restructure and maybe trade him to a team like the Jets, somebody that's willing to take a flyer, not for anything, like just be like, hey, we'll eat some of the contract or most of the contract, just get him out the door and maybe get like a 6th round pick for him, or I don't know, anything, a new bench press, whatever, I don't know, piece of equipment for our gym. I don't know, man. I just need him gone. I need him gone. I can't, guys. I can't with him. He's got to go. Another thing, I think this is probably the last year as AB as we know it. It's either he's going to win GM of the year or he is going to be fired. There's no in between. He's either going to work a miracle with this roster or he is just going to get fired for, past mistakes, and they're coming back to haunt us. So go Browns. Love the show, guys. Later.
All right, Kurt, thank you for the voicemail. Yeah, with Deshaun Watson and his contracts. So just to break it down real quick, we'll keep this pretty simple. So right now, 2026, he's got an $80.7 million cap hit, $46 million guaranteed this season. And then if the Browns were to, let's just say, this is why it's not going to happen, cut him, as just right now as it stands, like you can't just cut him, because all $80.7 million cap is dead cap. You would be paying him that whether he's on the team or not on the cap this season. So cutting him, not an option. He's got $25.7 million dead cap next year, $16.7 million dead cap in 2028, and then $8 million dead cap in 2029 before he is finally off the books. Okay? Now, restructure, you ask about that. They can restructure Deshaun Watson this year, which they will do, and they will clear $35.7 million this year. So that'll be big for the Browns heading into free agency this year once they restructure Deshaun Watson. The problem is, even if you restructure him, it doesn't matter because all the money that's left on his contract, I mean, it's guaranteed money, so you can't void any of it. Part of it doesn't just go away because he's cut because it wasn't guaranteed and all that kind of stuff. It's all guaranteed. So it all gets paid. Like the cap hits, you can't shave any of that off because it was all guaranteed money. It all has to hit at some point. Nobody's trading for him. Nobody's trading for a guy coming off a major shoulder surgery on his throwing arm and then back-to-back Achilles tears and a major Achilles surgery. On top of the last time he was healthy on the field playing, he sucked. He sucked. He was terrible. Worst quarterback play we've ever seen, or some of the worst. I guess we did have to watch DTR. Some of the worst quarterback play we have ever seen. Nobody is trading for the stigma of Deshaun Watson, for the piss poor play and the freaking ridiculous cap hit contract, experience that you got to go through to acquire him. It will not happen. So you can't trade him. You cannot cut him. He will be here for 2026 no matter what. So I get it, Kurt. I understand your enthusiasm and motivation to get him off the roster. But buckle down, man. Everybody out there too, because he's here for 2026. He will be a post-June 1st cut, or at least his contract will be a post-June 1 cut next offseason in 2027. He won't be here, but his contract will still be here. His dead cap hits will still be here through 2029. And I'm trying to remember, because once they restructure, then you can take the dead cap for the following year and split it over 2 more years. That might push it back out to 2030. But either way, however it all works, the dead caps are going to be here. He's going to be on the books for years to come, even though he won't physically be on the roster. So it sucks. It's a bad situation. It was a bad contract, a bad trade to make in the first place. It would have been much easier, obviously, to stomach and digest that he played anywhere close to even just league average quarterback play. But he didn't. He didn't even come close to league average. So it was terrible. Terrible move, but whatever. That's what we got. Let's see. Last voicemail here again. Thanks, Kurt. Last voicemail here today is from Liam.
What's going on, dogs? It's Liam calling in from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. And I just finished watching the Combine, looking at all those amazing wide receivers. So I thought there's no better time than now to do a mock draft. And I just want you guys to let me know what you think about this mock. Starting in round 1 with pick number 6, I mean, nothing's going to change my mind. It's Carnell Tate. Like, if he's on the board, I feel like that's a must take for the Browns. Like, it just has to be him. Going into the next pick at 24, I think Travis taking Monroe Freeland, tackle from Georgia, another guy who's kind of climbed up the boards. Again, like, obviously, I don't see us leaving the first round without at least one wide receiver or one tackle. Next round, I have us taking Emilio Pregnon from Oregon. Again, just bolster up that offensive line. Round 3, I got Jack Endries from Texas, the tight end. I think he had a great combine yesterday. And obviously, we need another tight end with Fannin being the only one on the roster. Round 4 was Malik Muhammad, also from Texas. Round 5, I went with Ted Hurst, who is my favorite prospect in this draft. And then rounding things out, I have Aiden Fisher, a linebacker from Indiana, Harold Perkins from LSU, Isaiah Nwakabu from SMU, and Ethan Oniwana from Ohio State. And Aiden Fisher is a linebacker, Harold Perkins is a linebacker, the guy from SMU is a safety, and Ethan Oniwana is a guard, in case you were wondering. But yeah, so let me know what you guys think about that.
All right, Liam. Well, thank you for the mock draft. I think that's a good way to end the show today too, is talking about this, because one thing that I am planning to do, obviously I did a post Senior Bowl mock draft. This coming week, I do want to do a post NFL Combine. I want to gather all the data and information coming out of Indianapolis and do a mock draft for the Browns post NFL Combine, kind of like you just did. So thank you for setting that in. And I got to tell you, if I'm projecting or sticking with pick 6 for the Browns for the mock draft purposes, it is Carnell Tate at 6, because I do think that he can be a big enough difference maker at the wide receiver position to warrant taking at 6. Obviously, your mock draft and mine is going to look very different, at least for the start. Tate, Monroe Freeling, I like him out of Georgia. I think that could be a good fit or a good projection for the Browns taking him. And then 39, Emmanuel Pregnone, great pick. I do think that he's going to be a good NFL offensive guard and everything like that. So I think that would really, it depends on what we do in free agency, because again, we don't want too many rookies starting on that offensive line this season. But Freeling, Pregnone could be guys that you fill in on the offensive line. And the rest of your draft, I mean, like Endry's the tight end. That would be a good pick. We obviously need tight end. I'll just pick out a couple of these other ones. I love Ted Hurst. You know that. And I've talked about him before. He's going to be a my guy during this draft process. Coming out of Georgia State, I don't know if the Browns or if, Andrew Berry, Andrew Berry does not take very many players. If you go look at the draft history, it's only like 2 or maybe 3 now if you include Harold Fannin coming out of Bowling Green. Of all the players he's drafted, he's only taken a couple now out of these smaller schools. So if you're not taking... takes most of his players out of the big Power 4 schools, right? The big guys, the SECs, the Big Tens, those type of places is where he likes to get his players. But I do like Ted Hurst a lot. I think he's very talented. I don't know if you guys saw the highlight catch from Ted Hurst at the combine, but it was insane. I forget which quarterback he was running the route for during the passing drills, but he made an insane adjustment where he spun around in a complete 360 and then had to extend his arms way out and caught the ball, just like plucked it out of the air. I don't even know how he was able to track it, let alone make the catch at the end. So that was impressive. And then the other guy I wanted to highlight out of your draft here, Liam, was Harold Perkins, the linebacker at LSU. Might be in my next mock draft. I'm not sure, because I'm really liking Kyle Lewis out of Pitt at the linebacker position. But Harold Perkins, I like him a lot too at LSU. So I like that pick. I think you did a great job on your mock draft. And I appreciate you sending that in. I appreciate everybody in your voicemails, Kurt and Kevin and everybody sending in your messages. It's just great hearing from you guys. Again, I appreciate everybody's well wishes as I've been dealing with this flu or whatever the heck this has been for the last couple weeks. And again, I apologize for any echo that's on the audio today. I apologize for the lighting. I gotta get my sound panels and my curtains and my actual studio lights. I just got a little lamp sitting right here. I got a lot of work to do here in the new studio, but I can't let the progress of the studio hold up any content for you guys, because I love producing the content. I love bringing it to you guys. I want to hear what you guys have to think in the comments. So please let me know. Drop your comments about anything I talked about today, the NFL Combine, draft projections, free agency, or the quarterback situation for the Browns, anything that these guys sent in, whether it was a message or a voicemail. Again, go to thedogspodcast.com if you want to get your thoughts and opinions, questions on the show. Go to jointhedawgs.com if you want to be part of the Discord, if you want to be part of the Dog Pack community, hang out with everybody in there, be part of those 24/7 conversations. Right now, just the news in there, that the conversation, the discussions are just flowing, man. It's so great, especially with all the combine stuff coming out. And then we're going to be hitting the new league year in free agency so fast. It's right around the corner. So don't miss out on those conversations. Get in there if you want to be with those diehard Browns fans. It's jointhedawgs.com. Thank you guys again for tuning in. Appreciate you. Best audience in the world. And I will be back with you guys. We're going to do the Dog Pack Discord show tomorrow night. So you guys should be able to get that on the public feeds on Tuesday morning. And then again, I will be doing my post NFL Combine mock draft later this week. So stay tuned. Have a great week, everybody. We'll talk soon, and let's go Browns.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Dawgs Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Twitter at the Dawgs Podcast. Get your thoughts on the show at thedogspodcast.com.
This episode is sponsored by ISSA. Browns fans, if you're into health and fitness, have you ever wondered how you could maybe turn those hobbies and your passion into an actual career? If that sounds interesting to you, then ISSA has the opportunity you've been looking for. ISSA is the International Sports Science Association, and they can help you become a certified personal trainer in as little as 3 months. And right now you can get $100 off your certification when you sign up through our link, joinissa.com/dogs, DAWGS. Now, certifications are 100% online, self-study, and self-paced. You can study anywhere from your phone, tablet, or computer. And the final exam is open note, open book, aka piece of cake. Except you fitness nuts probably don't eat a ton of cake, so let's just call it a piece of delicious protein bar. And ISSA has the #1 job guarantee in the industry. If you get certified and sign up to be a certified trainer with ISSA, you have a job guarantee or your money back. ISSA has over 10,000 gym partners that have over 73,000 open jobs for trainers right now. And you don't